I write fiction, pretty much. Mostly, I like to write about people in genuine relationships. It's sometimes love, but not always.
I see. And you post, are you published only on Wattpad, or is it also trickling over to Amazon too a little bit?
I do have a book published on Amazon. I'm working on my second one now. I do have also have a website where I publish fiction intermittently on there.
Okay.
Um,
I'm sorry. What was the on Amazon? You said
on Amazon.
intermittent. Well, who's intermittently getting your stuff?
Oh, I said that I have a website and I
Oh, your
post.
website. Yeah, I'm checking out your website right now. I really like it a lot. It's very, it's got a simplistic design. You can see the menu, everything that it offers, and I just read your bio a little bit too. So it's a good setup. I like it. And it sounds like, let's see, just to go through it, it sounds like you write romance
Yeah,
specifically. Yeah, I've never talked to a romance author, I don't think. I talk to a lot of people who do like the fantasy romance or the science fiction romance. They throw in romance like that. But you're kind of the first one that straight up says, I'm writing about love. I'm writing about sex. I'm writing about, the good stuff, the things that make people feel the best.
yeah.
What drew you to that particular topic to kind of write stuff about, or
um,
base your fiction in, if you know what I mean?
I've always been interested in people's relationships and how they interact with each other. Like I'm the type of person like I'll literally go to the store and see two people and tell you about their whole life. Now I don't know whether it's true or not, but I've made up an entire story about. So it's kind of like that, and the more that I grow, the more I learn. um, I see how people like interact with each other, and a lot of people they have the same stories.
No, it's true, right? I mean, there was somebody who said just the other day, just I'm not throwing politics in there, don't get nervous or anything, but just about conservatism and how the liberal base kind of hates them and everything. But at the end of the day, everybody wants one thing, and that's to keep their family safe, right? I mean, to keep everybody comfortable and happy and send them off into the world with potential.
I do agree with that. I think some of us are more focused on our own families. Some of us like to say that some of us don't believe in sharing,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, I don't know. Sharing, who wants to share? Everybody wants to share, get shared with, but nobody wants to share what they have, which is the unfortunate thing, isn't it? It's kind of selfish in a way. I don't know. In terms of relationships, though, I mean, that's basically what you're talking about, though, isn't it? It's that balance. It's meeting that person or that, having that relationship that shares things equally with you,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Not only sharing, but it might sound corny, but caring too. Because we can all like do things just because we think that we're supposed to do them, but doing things out of love because we care about people, because we want others do better in their life. I think that one thing that I learned that people do the most, throughout history is hoard resources, whether it's money or
Yeah, hoard them, right? And keep them violently from your neighbors because they are trying to take them from you.
exactly, exactly, and that's something that we should share. I love writing just because it sums up a story. I definitely believe in karma, what goes around comes around, plant seeds that you sow. A lot of times we don't get to physically see that. Like we know that somebody did us wrong, and later on in life they might get paid back. But in the story,
Yeah,
in
you
the
can only hope though sometimes, right? Because you're not going to necessarily see that revenge all the time. But like, I think what you're going to say with the story,
yeah, you get to see it right up front.
yeah, you get the
And
first, you get center row seats basically to watch that revenge unfurl. I love it. That's beautiful.
like,
That's so true too. When you hate somebody enough to put them in your fiction, they really did something wrong.
Say that again.
I said when you hate somebody enough to put them into your fiction and do horrible things to them with prose, I mean, they've really done something horrible to you.
Yeah, that's kind of true. I mean, in fiction, I kind of use a bit of everybody. Even if I start off a character one way, they may change based off of the events that happen, or I can't write them going left when any person with common sense would go right. So I like to kind of keep it realistic. Like that's
Who are your favorite characters? Who do you like to draw? Who are you drawn to specifically when you're out in public, when you're doing your people watching? Who are you looking out for? Who's most interesting to you?
mostly just people that are in loving relationships. So it could be a couple, or a parent with their child. Sometimes it could be even like coworkers and how they react to each other, because there is honestly drama everywhere.
Well, that's very true. And what do you mean by drama exactly?
Well, people, let's say, like, for instance, like people in like working relationships. Like, you go to work, like you see these people every day, they know some of your business, but not a lot of it. And then you get to work, and work is just a completely different environment than like real life. And people act differently at work. Like, they interact with, you know, um, people they're attracted to, people they're
Yeah.
not attracted to, people they want to see later, and they'll act different depending on, who they see. And, it's not always right, I guess I should say.
And what is there some kind of quote about faces? I don't. Some people wear different faces in different social occasions.
As we should.
Yeah. Really? I mean, you really can't expose your inner demons in a place where you're very concerned about losing, your home or your car or something like that, like at work. But I mean, there are
People
demons. Go ahead.
demons everywhere. You just have to pay attention. It's like it's one of I don't know. Everybody has like a quirk, and it's
Yeah.
always a reason for the quirk. Whether it's, oh well, I don't like, if you've ever met somebody who doesn't eat vegetables, like, well, that's you know
You know
like
what's going to happen at the end of the day, and you're looking at them going, "You probably should eat vegetables." I'm going to
exactly.
laugh internally, but I can't make you eat vegetables. I mean, it's on you,
Like, there's a
right?
lot of veggies that you can eat, and just to sum it up and be like, I don't eat vegetables at all. Like me, I would think it stems back to your childhood. Either you like something went wrong with vegetables, and I think everything can be drawn back to what
Such a
happened.
great example. It really honestly is. If you have a character that straight up says, I don't eat vegetables, period, and there's an interaction going on where that one character wants them to eat vegetables, I mean, you know so much about them. There's an immaturity at play. You know what I mean? There's no concern for their particular health, longevity, the future, anything like that.
Right.
It's incredible use of character showing.
Yes, and I love my characters mostly.
Mostly. So I mean, if you're writing romance, if you're writing, lovey-dovey stuff, obviously it gets boring after a while with character A and character B when they mash up together and they create the sparks that influence, made the story happen. But where does your conflict come from? I mean, you said not all of your characters is that what you're hinting at? Some of them are
Well,
more
I think that originally, when I first started writing, it was all about, two people getting together and all of that. But usually, my conflict in the relationship comes from, basically other people, like third parties. And of course, the biggest thing is my characters overcoming their past. Like, that's like the biggest thing, because we all have
pasts,
yeah,
history.
the past we have to overcome.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
usually nobody cares in the real world. It's you that cares the most, or not you particularly the author, but you the character. They care the
hmm
most about their past. It haunts them. Nobody else gives a shit. Man, I love the quote about baggage. You know what I mean? Only one person carries your baggage, and that's you. Nobody else can do it. Nobody else cares. Nobody else sees the effort.
exactly, and that's the thing. Nobody cares.
I mean, I don't know. You are writing about characters with pasts, and how do they handle it within your writing? Because I mean, that's an incredibly interesting conflict to have woven through something that ghosts like they're haunted by themselves.
Um, just like normal people, either they're gonna ignore it and deny it, or face it head first. Most of my characters, put on this happened, and that's my past type thing, but
Mhm.
it's still them, you
Well,
know.
you're also writing from a perspective of homosexuality, lesbianism and stuff like that too. I guess that the past could include some pretty big cultural things like religion or parents or social and stuff like that, right?
Well, right now I'm pretty when it comes to the LGBT stuff, I'm pretty much it's kind of like on the surface, because our relationships aren't any different than anybody else's, and I
Hmm.
kind of want to show that, like, we deal with all the stuff that all the stuff that everybody else deals with.
Hell yeah,
Only
right? I mean, it's not different because you might share some body parts. Still
right,
normal.
exactly. That's kind of the point. Also, that we in the LGBT community just need um like we want people to like see our relationships as regular relationships as well. Like, we don't want to be classified, even though
Yeah.
it's
How
like
awkward, right? I mean, immediately you start picturing what somebody does behind closed doors when you say they're X, Y, and Z and put a label on things. I mean, it's just awkward for everybody involved. Just let them be, right? Or maybe not. I don't know. I
exactly,
question
and
because the whole thing with what was her name? The Olympic athlete who
I,
went
I don't remember
trans.
her name, but the one that they said couldn't compete because her testosterone was
Oh,
too
and
high.
yeah, it's another great example. But no, this woman is like a Kardashian, I think.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't watch that show, but she's like all over the place. But it occurred to me that at the same time as I'm trying to develop an opinion about that subject, it really is none of my business. But just to let her live her life, and basically that's as a human, that's all
is
that matters.
a I think that's a big thing that people don't realize. You can look at somebody and not understand what's going on with them and be like, if they tell me, that's fine. If
Yeah,
not, it's really not any of my business. Like, you can Google all types of things.
yeah.
Like, you can always use Google.
You can use
And
your imagination too. I mean,
I
you got
think
tons of tools available for you.
it's
And
not, it's not just it's people. Period. I think no matter what you do, people they strive to like throw you in a box. And
yeah,
no matter whatever label you put on yourself, you're not gonna fit 100% into it.
that harkens
And
back to what we were just talking about, right? In terms of like conservative versus liberals. I mean, it's not a box; it's a person.
at the end of the day, whether you're a conservative or you're a liberal,
Or you're
I
gay,
just
or you're straight, or you're anything. You're a human being first and foremost.
yeah, exactly. And we're gonna have ideas that overlap, and we're gonna have ideas that don't overlap. Even if I met somebody that's a writer like me, you know what I'm saying, and they've had a lot of the same paths as I have, like, they're still gonna have different ideas. Our experiences make us who we are, along with our thinking process, because people think differently. Even if you come up with the conclusion, you can literally have came from, a totally different place and still came to the same conclusion.
I mean, I guess it in terms of our society, our United States of America society, we are very much what are we looking at first and foremost, aren't we? And then maybe we'll scrape away a little bit of that surface stuff and get into the good, gooey yumminess of what a person actually is. But man, more often than not, we stop at, what building they walk in to worship, or the color of their skin, or something along those lines, and we let that define one person and a whole group of people.
That's true. I guess I don't 100% have a issue with like summing people up. I mean, definitely don't sum up a whole group of people. But if you look at somebody, I don't have an issue with you summing them up, but maybe have an issue with the way that you treat them. Because, like I said, I make up stories about people all the time. Doesn't mean
Mhm.
it's true, and it doesn't mean I should treat them, based on that. I should treat them, with respect. I'm all about that. You
Yeah.
know,
So me and my wife, we first got married. We're on, we're in Manhattan. We're on a bus heading south or something. And this dude gets on the bus, and I'm like, oh, whatever. He's making a scene or he's making something. And I point to him and I say, hey, look, babe, look at that black gay guy, or something along those lines. And she immediately jumps on me. But me, I'm confused because I'm just describing a person to her as I see him in front of me. But she's like, dude, that's the rudest, nastiest thing you've ever said. What do you think? I'm completely incapable of being cool most of the time. Unfortunately, my mouth flaps way before my brain works. But I'm wondering, like, if you're in that same situation now, you're the narrator of a story. How do you handle that? There's a dude that gets on a bus. What's the description that you use? Do you go base, or do you go what?
um, I guess it depends. If let's say if he's being like, super flamboyant, probably would describe him as gay. But when it comes to my stories, I don't do a lot of description on the characters. I mean, most of my characters are black. Chances are my characters are black, and the series that I have on Amazon, that I'm writing a second book for, is called Chocolate Diaries, which basically it takes you, firsthand into the eyes of a black woman. So I think it really depends on the situation. Like I think that I'm super aware. I mean, more than that, because I'm black and I'm, queer. I don't I wouldn't have a problem describing somebody as black and gay. Honestly, I don't know what the situation was, if it warranted for that, but describing somebody like that isn't necessarily bad.
I
Not
live in New
that
York, though. I think
I
she's more
know
concerned about who's going to overhear you. You know what I mean? Because you could really piss people off. Not just
that
people in the African American community, but like just a normal person that's standing there that overhears you say something that may be, know,
you gotta
not.
look at you differently. And oh, trust me, I have a really big mouth. It took me a long time to learn what to say, where to say it. Like is my mouth has gotten me in a lot of trouble, and I understand that because like I think it and I say it most of the time, and I've learned to like kind of not do that. But describe somebody by their sexuality or their race isn't bad unless they're coming to like apply for a job. You know what I'm saying?
Can you please
Like
mark on that application that you're gay and you're black? Thank you.
that that might be a little offensive, but
Well, I thought they do that anyway. I mean, I know they're not allowed to use it for employment purposes, but when I fill out a resume or an application online, I'm always asked if I am this, that, or the other thing. I'm like, this is kind of crappy, isn't it? It's like that census stuff.
yeah, yeah. I mean, what can you do? They're gonna know what race you are when you come in anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, exactly. I guess they're gonna make that first opinion. Um,
Exactly. I always fill it out just because, if you don't want me and I'm black, I don't want to work there
well, I
either.
guess you don't, right? That's gonna be an uncomfortable employment when you walk in the door and they just don't like you because you look a certain way. I don't know. That's unfortunate. But I mean, in terms of the gay black dude thing, I mean, cheap writing, right? You're not going to do that anyway because it's bad. You put that in a story, it should be laughed off the page by an editor. I mean, you're not going to do that in conversation with somebody, my wife. Maybe it's allowed, but it was cheap. He deserved better as a human being, probably. And I wonder, you have a community of people that are reading your things too, right? I mean, that's ultimately the goal, is to get your words in front of people's eyes. What
Hmm.
do they say about what you're striving for? And I imagine they're not coming from outside your community. They're engaging from within.
Right. Honestly, I don't get a ton of feedback on my writing. Like people like it and they get drawn into the stories, and they kind of forget to do the the feedback thing. So I don't get a whole lot of feedback, and that's one reason why I try to get my writing out there so that I
Yeah.
can improve, and people can tell me from their standpoint, how they view it. Because um, I can write something, and in your head, it can look totally different than it looks for me.
Yeah.
And
I had
um,
a great conversation with a guy who said that it's guided meditation. As a writer, what you're doing is guiding a meditation on paper. So the reader is basically, you're doing all the heavy work, but they're doing work too. You know what I mean? The way I read C.S. Lewis growing up is not the same way you would have read C.S. Lewis growing up. I mean, two totally different stories, the same book. I love it.
yeah, and honestly, let me just say that a lot of the things that happen in real life they seem so far fetched that I would like never put in a book. Like,
Did you know that Donald Trump is president? That's crap writing, right? That's horrible, horrible fiction telling, but it's true. If I
that
put
is
that in a story, you would,
exactly.
no, sorry, get this out of there. Nobody would like that guy. Nope, he's a president. It happened.
Like, really live like cliche lives,
Right?
Like,
It's
yeah.
crazy, man. There was a dude who had a bomb strapped to his neck and told to rob a bank. I mean, that's a noir thriller story. It actually happened to some kid. I mean, it's horrible. Reality is stranger than fiction, basically, is what we're saying.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating to get the no feedback thing when you put your work out there.
Yeah,
What are you
yeah.
doing in terms of marketing? Are you at the point where you're like, pay attention to me, or I'm going to publish a novel, or are you working towards any of the marketing goals that people have out there that they do for the whole indie publishing scene?
So right now I've had my book out for a year now, and like I said, I'm working on my second one. But I haven't I guess I haven't really had the chance to like 100% put my face into the marketing thing for it. But I am working on that this summer. Like I said, with my second book coming out, I just took the book I have now off of the KDP Select, which is like Amazon having all the rights to your book. So I'm gonna try it on other venues and see how that works, and invest in myself. From
Have you ever done any creative writing workshops and had somebody look at your stuff and kind of tell you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong, anything like that?
I haven't participated in any workshops just because it usually conflicts with my schedule or it's so far away, but it is like in the works with the future. Because I really like writing a lot and I literally always write. I write every
There has to be a giant community out there, and in Phoenix too, right? I mean, I don't know. Are
yeah,
you
I'm
involved in the LGBT community in Phoenix?
wait, say that again?
Are you involved in the LGBT community in Phoenix? LGBT?
Not really.
No. Is there one?
I'm not a social butterfly.
No.
I don't really care for most people.
Would you classify yourself as an introvert? Yeah.
Mostly an introvert. See, I can like I'm the type of person like when I go to work, I'm very social and all of that, but like once I'm like in my own zone, like I just like to be around, people that are close to me. Like I don't like hanging around other people. But it's
I'm
like
even worse than that. I don't even want to hang out with the people I'm close with. I'll text you. I'll send you a text, okay, son? I'm horrible. I can't stand it. Human contact. I want a spaceship in the middle of nowhere, just me. So how horrible I am.
Like that sometimes.
Yeah. Um. So I mean, what is this? Who's What's Inked all about? Inked fiction. Fiction.
So yeah, that's basically like my brand, ink section. And mostly that was the website up there. I just want to focus on expanding my writing. Like I've been writing romance pretty much my whole life. I have some I have some pretty intense stories from my early 20s, but like on there I have like a thriller that I started, and it's pretty entertaining to write, but I don't know how good it is, but it's just basically so I can experiment and see how things work out.
You
As
have ink. Do you have tattoos?
No, I don't have any tattoos.
No, because the picture you have here is crazy. This woman has tattoos all over her back.
Yeah, that's not me.
No, you couldn't get tattoos.
Well, I thought about it, but it never really actually happened. So.
Yeah, man, I understand what you mean about no time to do stuff. I mean, it feels like there's so much to do. I mean, the idea of just doing this podcast is expensive in terms of time. I mean, it's, and talking to you back and forth to plan when are you going to do the actual conversation and the conversation and the editing and then the putting it online. By the time you're done, it's like a 5 hour experience altogether, maybe even more, depending on how much effort you put into it, right? But for me,
Mhm.
it's like maybe 5 hours. And it's like, where do you come up with that 5 hours? You have to pull it from the time that you're awake. And then there's less things that
Yeah,
you can do. And there's so many things they recommend that you do to get people to look at you.
exactly. And it's such a long list. Like, hey, you should do this, and you should do that, and you should do this, and it's like, I'm not making any money off of this, right?
Yeah,
So
I'm
I
not
have.
spending anything either. I refuse to put money behind an editor or a cover or anything like that. I'm like, nope, I'll just do it myself. Or I'll figure something else out. Are you
Mhm.
sending anything out? Are you writing short fiction? You are writing short fiction because you're writing the serial. Are you doing other stuff too, like sending things to fiction magazines or literary contests or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm working on that right now because my honest to God goal is to be able to sustain myself off of my writing. By
Yeah.
the time so I have like 8 years left.
8 years
I have
left.
8 years before I turn 40, and
Is
I
that it? You're supposed to cut it off at 40?
no, I'm not gonna. No, that's my goal. Like I don't want to have to work and do other things.
Yeah.
Because writing is work. Like the
Yeah.
writing part is the funnest part, but then there's the editing, and then there's you have to like fix it to.
I mean, you never know either because you could read that thing 1,000 times and there's still going to be mistakes that you spot that you're making. I mean, it's just an unfortunate back and forth. Do you have people to kind of read for you and check for errors and do all that good stuff, or are you all on your own in terms of the editing?
Mostly I'm on my own.
Oh, that's tough. You'd envy you.
I like to use Grammarly is a really good
Yeah, I like
program.
Grammarly a lot too. I actually decided to bump up to the advanced just to see if it does anything.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to purchase it because it'll be easier for me. Honestly, I really fear and I've talked to other writers and they're like, editors will sample your work, but I really fear editors like taking my work and editing it and you know not saying what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
have had some great experiences so far where if they have edits they want you to make, they send it back to you. You fill it out, or you make the change, you send it back to them, and you're pretty much good to go. My first publication was in a university press, short story, a couple thousand words, something like that, and they couldn't find my email address. They published me anyway and thought it would be a good idea to publish my first like sentence or so. Whew, not a good feeling to pick up that thing, see my name, be all excited about my first publication, and then have, my words just being destroyed. And
Yeah.
I have
It's
like
different.
70 copies of that magazine still. I'm not that unproud of it though. I'm completely okay with the fact that it just exists like that,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, the only thing that I've actually had published was because I was going to Arizona State University
Hmm.
for journalism, and I did an article about this guy that started it was kind of it was like it was something against police brutality.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so he started a whole network against police brutality, basically, and did an article on that for the Arizona Informant. That was a few years ago, and yeah, that was pretty much it. But I haven't had any like have I haven't had anybody pick up my fiction, which is really what I want. But
I know it really does feel good, and I would highly recommend going online and finding places where people are writing what you want to people, people to read, because it
mhm,
really does feel good to have people kind of say, "Hey, I want to publish a thing." And it also kind of gives you an idea of where you're at too. If you're not going to workshop or have people kind of content edit you, if you're sending things out to these magazines and they're saying no thank you, then there's something wrong and you need to work harder. You know what I mean? At least you kind of
right,
have a, yeah, what the word, it's like resonating rod or something like that.
hmm,
You have an idea of where you're at in terms of what people want. That's my opinion anyway. I really enjoy it, hitting that submit button and knowing that my work is going to be judged and potentially a paycheck coming. Feels pretty good.
yeah. I have to try it. Honestly, um I don't actually have like a list of anything where of publications that do publish short stories, because that would be like ideal for me. That because that's
Let's
really
do it then. I'm going to send you something right now that'll help you out. I use it all the time. It's called where it's called the submission grinder, and basically it just gives you every single magazine in the country, website, anthology, what have you, that's looking to buy words that you would write.
okay.
And it's free. So that's just the best part, and it works. I've gotten accepted and conversated and all that good stuff with that. I sent it to you in the Twitter. It's that, what is it called? The grinder dot diabolicalplots.com. I think that diabolical plots thing is not necessarily where you want to go. Let me see what I opened up. That'll work. I mean, you'll see it. You look at search, there's an advanced search fiction poetry in there, alphabetical listing. You could actually look up the publications by name too. It'll give you the amount that it pays per word, and how often or how fast they'll respond to you and everything. It's a really good website.
Oh yeah, definitely. I look forward to going through it. That sounds exciting.
Well, it's nerve wracking, and I will say, don't think you're going to get accepted to everything, because man, one of the first things that happened to me is I got rejected over and over and over and over and over again. In fact, the rejections far outnumber the acceptance I receive. It's tough,
Yeah,
man.
I mean,
When they tell you get
I
used to no, that's why. That world that lives on that website.
have an issue with rejection. I'm, an adult.
Well, yeah, but you think so, and then they reject you, and you start wondering why. You wrote
Yeah,
5,000 words, you sent it to them, they turn around, they send you a sentence back, a single sentence saying thank you, no, and you're like, why? Why didn't you like it? Tell me so I can make it better. So you're still locked in that mystery of crap, but it's not good enough for them. So there's a little element of torture to it, which is good because you grow. Torture is good. Pain is good because you become stronger after it's over with, right?
yeah, that's true. Anywhere, like
So
I
what's that?
really like writing, and I really like writing fiction that people can relate to, that gives them a little bit of hope, like for themselves, not oh, hope that I'll, find somebody who loves me, just like for yourself. Like, you're a great human being. Like, you need to grow, period. Because everybody should be striving to be better people.
Yeah, to be
And
the best they can be, to be a master, right? I mean, at the end of the day, when you die, that's what you want to be, is a master of whatever it was that you lived for, not
exactly.
hoping to one day become a master, to be. Is that text? That hits you hard in the ear when they text you. Um, man, what was I going to say? So you went to Arizona State University.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Oh.
On the state. Yeah, I forget.
Well, there's one that's the party school, and then the one I don't know anything about. Which one did you go to?
That's the party school.
Oh, you went to the
That's
party school. That's
I was
crazy. I went to the University of Florida. That's supposed to be one of those party schools too. I don't get into that stuff, but man, people would party hard, hard.
Oh yeah, they party hard. When I was going, I was like 28, and I had a 3-year-old, so I
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
really partying. But
that puts a damper on anything. I have two 3-year-olds right now, and I can't do anything.
oh my, yeah, 3-year-olds are a handful.
How old is your kid now?
7.
7. Okay. And you work too, and try to write. And man, I my hats off to you. I can't even imagine. Well, I can't imagine because I did that most of my life. How horrible that is to put product down, to put words down on paper. Do you have a time that you write?
Um, Honestly, I usually when I get off work, I try to write. I've been like focusing on editing my book, so I kind of have been taking breaks from it. So I kind of do it like every other day, so that my eyes are, kind of fresh.
Oh, I see. Okay. So you have a book on its way out in the editorial process. Does that mean you have a release date in mind, or just when you get tired of working on it?
The release date hopefully is the end of the month. I don't have a
Oh, good for
definite,
you. What's a
but
book? Is it a part of Chocolate Diaries, or is it something standalone?
it's a part of Chocolate Diaries. Yeah, so it's actually
Standalone, or just another chapter of that ongoing serial?
different. It's a completely different character. So
Uh,
Chocolate Diaries is just like the novellas taken from the point of view of a black woman, basically.
uh-huh.
And in the new book, it's about a woman that's married, and she finds out her husband is cheating on her, and she kind of has to redefine herself around herself. Because honestly, as women, when we enter relationships, especially when we're young, like
Yeah.
a 30-year-old woman's not going to do this. But if you get in a
Yeah.
relationship when you're like 18, 18, like you're going to develop yourself around that person that you're with.
Yeah. Unfortunately, right? Because I've dated a lot of younger women than me during my life, and it is kind of like that, where you mold with each other, become one thing when you're younger. And my wife was a little bit older than me, and she wasn't having that at all. She put me in my place. I was like, no, and I got healed. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how you be around me. And it's like, okay, so sorry. No, it is true that the older a woman is, the more she will just not put up with that crap.
Right, but a lot of us, a lot of people, period, like they get in relationships when they're younger. They want these relationships to last forever, and God knows I would
Yeah,
love to join every one of them, but I know it's
right.
not going to happen because I was that age before too.
Yeah,
But it's mostly about her rediscovering like how beautiful she is, and who she is as a person, because it's important that we do that. Like it doesn't matter,
yeah.
when it comes to women, how big you are, how small
Mm.
you are, like what
Somebody to
color.
love you, right? I mean, you'll find somebody to love you as long as you love yourself.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't understand that you have to love yourself first. There's plenty of beautiful people out here in the world that have
Don't love
no
themselves. Yeah.
of themselves first. And they focus on how other people view them and how other people see them. But you have to view yourself, and then other people will see what you see.
That's it's a very interesting message to be true to yourself. And the platform that you've decided for yourself as well is also incredibly interesting. I don't see a lot of people like that kind of showing up in my feed. I'm not even sure where I discovered you from exactly, but looking at your stuff is incredibly interesting because I think it's a voice that doesn't reach mainstream media very often. I've had friends of from the community, and I've borrowed books from them before that looked interesting, and found myself reading like supernatural, gay romance or something along those lines. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's just a story, and it's good writing, and you get something from it. And I think more people should be exposed to stuff like what you're writing. It's good. What would you recommend people kind of check out in addition to what you're writing to kind of get a feel for the genre?
Hmm. I don't know. I've been kind of like I've been kind of like just picking up random books and you
That's
know
what I
uh,
do.
reading them. It's just like I don't know. I don't think that there's anything in particular that I would advise to read just because like the things that I read are literally all over the place.
Well, how did you discover this particular writing? Is it just because this is what you were interested in? I mean, I guess it's not fair because I write kind of speculative fiction, science fiction and fantasy. So there is a specific place that I can put my stuff, the things that I'm interested in. I go, boom, this is where I'm going to do it. Is that basically what kind of happened to you? Is you were interested in relationships, you were interested in love and sex and
I
people just
was
accepting other people and
Yeah, I think that originally, when I first started writing romance, it was honestly because I was in a really bad relationship and I wrote about the love that I was not getting at the time.
that's interesting. So it
When
was more out of wish fulfillment than anything else.
Yes, yes. A lot of times, like especially when I was younger, that was what my writing was about. Now, my writing is more about, just giving people different viewpoint on things because we all like to pretend that we're, good and nothing's
Yeah.
going wrong. And we all have all of this stuff going on in our lives, and that face that we put on is just a face, like you said, it's just one mask. We have too many,
As a straight white dude, I'm not allowed to think of myself as good anymore. I mean, I can't even say that with a straight face. Honestly, I'm a good guy. Nope, sorry, it doesn't work. um, yeah, man, I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yes, and anybody, I would say anybody, as long as you, because in life, I try to not judge people. Like I can judge everything that they do, and I'm the type of person I'll look at you and you'll do all of this stuff wrong, and it make it right that you had all this horrible stuff happen to you. It doesn't make it
Yeah,
right that you behave that way, but it helps me understand because like we have to forgive people and we can't walk around like angry all the time
no, it's
and
very true. And a lot of people are walking around incredibly angry, or it's just the fact that I spend a lot of time in New Jersey. I'm not sure, man. People
stuff
are
is very
angry and violent, and they can't drive. They're really bad drivers all of a sudden too. And maybe it's just me. Just find myself irritated when I drive in this
I
state.
think the more you notice stupidity and you're just like I'm over it.
No, yeah, it's very true. I mean, I wanted to ask you because you mentioned that you work specifically with or against or to kind of define or answer police brutality. Did you come up with the solution that would help that situation? I mean, it's horrible. I hate hearing news stories about it, but I was
um
wondering what your thoughts were.
his and I find the website and I could see the link, but he actually came up with the network. We connected because in 2013 my brother was actually killed in police custody, so it was
Ugh.
something that directly connected with me. And he used to be an author in I believe Atlanta. And I guess something happened. You know how the police are. Brothers in Blue, and he didn't want to do that, so they kind of turned on him. So he ended up somewhere. He ended up in D.C. going to law school to become a lawyer, which I believe that he graduated. So with that, basically, the website was for to connect people with lawyers that would help, programs that would help them, and then like spiritual connections, because a lot of people, they turn to God when stuff like that happens. So people to pray for them and things like that. So actually created um he actually created the website to help everybody, who has dealt with that situation going forward, but
You get
honestly,
together, basically, you have like people that you could rely on to talk to. You hear stories, you could tell stories, and you can provide resources and things like that on the website.
yes. And honestly, if I was going to fix police brutality, I would just fire the whole police force, all of
I
them. Every
mean,
single
who
one.
would give the tickets though? I don't
Exactly.
understand. I don't understand. Who would give? I don't. You need to get the tickets. You need. I don't know what else they do. Honestly, what else the cops do? They
That's
show
the
up and make
thing. The
domestic
most
situations worse.
I've learned that you can actually be too smart to be a police officer. Like, if you score too high on the IQ test, they won't hire you.
I know people who've become cops, and I totally think that's the case. So they're great guys. The dude was a great fullback. I mean, he was a great football player, but he became a cop, and I don't think I ever saw him pick up a book one time, which is scary to think about it. I mean, they should have some kind of psychology training or some mastery of their own personal demons. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
man, a lot of cops get scared, and a lot of people that get pulled over get scared too. And that's not a great combination, is it? It's not good to be scared and not sure what's going to
No,
happen. What happened?
this meme. I read this meme, which was true, that said in today's society, cops can get scared and shoot you, but trained cops can get scared and shoot you, but innocent people have to remain calm when a
Yeah,
gun is
you
pointed
really do. You
at them.
cannot get scared and shoot a cop and use that as an. I got scared. Boom! I shot the cop. You're free to go, sir. Sorry about that. We'll try
Get
not to scare
scared.
you in the. No,
Yeah.
it doesn't work like that. It should be the same. You can't get scared, dude. You got a gun. You pulled your gun out. You have your hand on your gun. Do not get. Do not get scared. Stay calm. Or give your gun
Exactly.
back. Give the gun back, you dummy. It's just I hate that
Yeah.
so much. I mean, as a soldier, when I was in the army, I didn't like touching my weapon at all. I hated it because it gave you person a lot of power. You know what I mean? And like having it at my fingertip, and it could do bad things to people or myself. I mean, it was a scary weapon tool thing that I don't think anybody should have the right to own on a daily basis, because the decision to do bad things is can be made too suddenly, and that includes cops. There's no excuse for them to have a gun. They're our
Yeah.
bulletproof. Aren't they our protection?
They're supposed to, and then stuff on their belt, but the gun is like always the first thing they go to.
I mean,
And
it's all. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
it's kind of scary. I
No, it is.
mean,
It's incredibly scary. Not for me. Like I said, I got an easy button. I'm a straight white guy. I just have to sit there and stare straight ahead, and that even give him attitude, and I'm probably going to escape with just a ticket. But I mean,
hmm
it's not fair to me. Even I don't even know what it's like to have that much terror and to know that it could potentially happen. That dude will shoot you over nothing
yeah, and that
or
and
something. I mean, he sees it something, but you might not see it as anything or be able to stop it once it starts.
that is the biggest thing with life. Like me and you, our experiences going anywhere is probably gonna be so completely different. So
Completely
when
different.
people they should, you should listen to them. Period. Like from any standpoint, just so you learn, like because you don't know, and everybody's experiences are different. Is
And
important.
interesting too, right? I mean, as writers, we kind of want to know what those differences are.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to condemn you for thinking a certain way, unless it's a violent way, unless it wants to hurt somebody. I want
See,
to know you a little bit better. I want to know why you think the way that you do, and how
that's
can
how. So I'm pretty much like I feel like people should do whatever is best for them. As long as you're not hurting anybody, just do you. Like, I mean,
Do you?
if you
Yeah.
want to smoke meth, you know what?
Oh, God, no. My God, that messes up civilization. You live in one of those states, though. You live in a really methy state.
Yeah, trust me. I know. Like everybody, like it's a lot. I used to work night shift at the Waffle House.
Oh, oh my God, you are a tough lady. I've been to the Waffle House at night. I mean, I've almost gotten into horrible, horrible fights at a Waffle House at night. It's not a good place to be front at night.
I've seen some almost fights at the Waffle House at night, but yeah, people are like full of drugs. But you know, we all have to,
Full of drugs.
and we all have to hit our own rock bottom, like we
Yeah.
all do, no matter what it is in life.
Yeah. Drugs,
We
man,
all have.
they can make that bottom seem like it doesn't exist though. The things I've heard people have done for meth, the things that meth tells you to do for it. I don't know how that works exactly, but people fall apart completely. And it's not like, I mean, I guess maybe it's like crack, maybe kind of, but it's not, is it? It's 100% different. 100% different.
Well, like I'm not a religious person at all,
I
but
wanted to
I
ask you
do.
eventually, we're going to get into that and see if, if that flavored your writing at all, but so you're not.
Well, but both of my parents are ministers. They weren't when I was, growing up, but they are now. I'm more into like, chakra, Reiki, the universe type thing, but
Uh,
I know that demons exist. I felt them, I've seen them. You do those types of drugs, you open your mind up to things like that.
I don't know,
And
man,
like,
but yeah, they become demons, don't they? They're just, it's a nightmare seeing somebody like that. And I don't live in meth state, really. I live, I don't know what kind of state I live in, but we don't
yeah,
really have a lot of meth out here.
that's 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 spreading the prescription pills. Like everybody's like addicted to those right now.
Yeah, I've seen that the
Yeah,
opioids, the oxys and whatnot, just eat souls too.
yeah,
Not
they
good.
they do.
People are suing Pfizer now. Like individuals are actually going to Pfizer and telling them that they destroyed their lives and families and killed people. Like individual members of that family are getting sued. It's an
I
interesting
think
world that we live in.
well, especially like when you think about let's say just give an example of getting your insurance from the government as opposed to getting it from like a job or whatever. Like a lot of times, like people on government insurance, like when you go in see the doctor, like they're not worried about, actually healing you or
No,
fixing
they don't want to heal you. They want you to come back over and over again.
it. Exactly. They're just specifically focused on whatever. Oh, well, you're in a lot of pain. Well, let me give you this drug.
Or like somebody like me that goes in the doctor just for a checkup to make sure, and they're like, okay, well, now we want to test your heart. Are you going to do that today? No, you're going to come back. And you're going to charge. We're going to charge you $20 for the copay, and we're going to charge you $20 for the test, and then you're going to talk to a doctor for another $20. So, give us $60, and we're going to tell you everything is fine, and you're not going to die this time. But make sure you schedule another appointment before you leave, so we can go ahead and schedule more tests and charge you more money.
Yeah.
And
Try.
at the end of the day, isn't it kind of like a balancing act? It's kind of like, okay, I accept it because you guys have this really fancy degree, and I don't want to die.
Pretty much. But doctors like I think a lot of times and um what I've been learning to do is like listen. You have to listen to your instincts. Like no matter what somebody tells you, always listen to that voice on the inside of you. When I was like, I wanted to say I was in high school. I was probably like my sophomore year in high school. I had like this I got sick and there was something wrong with my throat. I don't remember what it was, but I went to the doctor. The doctor told me that he didn't know what it was, but he gave me these pills to take. And at the time, I'm like 15, 16, and even then, I was like, well, if he doesn't know what it is, why the hell did he give me pills for it? Like, I'm taking these. And
What
then,
was it, like an antibiotic or something?
huh?
Was it like an antibiotic?
No, it wasn't. I
Oh,
don't know. I'm not sure what it was honestly, but they were big pills, and I hate taking pills.
Yeah.
I really
Medicines are the worst, man. I went to the dermatologist once and they saw a pimple and popped it and they're like, okay, take this antibiotic. It's like, no, what's this stupid pimple? Leave me alone.
think alcohol.
No, no,
No,
I'm not taking like antibiotics. I think that's like
yeah,
the fastest way you can die is to get your body used to the antibiotic and the disease kind of, eventually gets better than the antibiotic and they're running out of antibiotics.
yeah, and I actually learned that, you know what I'm saying, if you like take like an aspirin every time you get a headache, you know, it makes your body unable to fight headaches
No, yeah, that's
because
totally true. That's the way it works. That's why there's such a meth problem, right? Because somebody can't just do a tiny little bump of meth. They got to do like bumps and bumps and bumps and bumps and bumps and bumps until their teeth are falling out and their faces are melting off their skull or something
yeah,
along those lines. I mean,
apparently
that's all
meth
true.
is really cheap.
Oh, meth is
Apparently it's
cheap?
Yeah, apparently it's really cheap. Yeah, I used to. Well, you know, I told you I worked at the Waffle House, and you meet all types of people there. Particularly, they hire a lot of people that used to do drugs. So,
Uh-huh, they don't care, right? There's probably a question on the Cook application. Are you on meth? And if not, will you start? Will you take meth for this job, please?
seriously. So yeah, I knew this woman that was recovering from that thing. You know, we had a conversation about all the drugs that she's done, and she was like in a, you know, she was in a program to get her off of it so she could get her kids back. She's probably like 2 years.
That is tough. That's tough. I wish her luck, right? It's so compelling. What a story that is. You know what I mean? What a story the woman who works the overnight shift at Waffle House has as well. I mean, what a great vantage point you have to develop fiction. And you know that, or you wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah,
So I think it's
exactly.
cool.
I honestly I spent a lot of you know, my adult life behind a desk sitting at a computer, and I honestly found that being out working with the public, it gives me a lot more, you know, satisfaction in my life. Just like having random conversations with people about whatever, like, you know, you learn, like I said, you learn that people have certain tics. Like sometimes I hear stuff I've never heard before. I mean, it's good, but it happened.
Yeah,
You
it's the best thing,
know?
right? I've heard somebody say that we live in the age of discovery. That every day we could potentially discover something, I don't know, ego shattering. Every day there's something new to discover. Every day something exciting happens. I mean, you go on the internet, you don't even know what you're going to end up with. Back in the day, you're younger than me by 9 years, so maybe you're totally in the digital era. But when I was a kid, I was in analog, right? Meaning there was no digital. I had to pick up a book to enjoy it. Therefore, when I woke up in the morning, I knew exactly where my entertainment was going to come from. It was going to come from that book that I had already opened.
Yeah,
Nowadays,
I was
I don't know
pretty
where
much
my entertainment's going to come from.
yeah, I was pretty much a kid in the '90s. I was like
Yeah, so
coming
same thing.
in like the millennium. So I remember like '96, we got our first computer. Like I didn't honestly want anything to do with it. My mom used to be on it, but like me and my brothers, we didn't mess around with it.
Do you regret not getting on that in 1996 and kind of establishing yourself as an author then? Because I mean, it was the wild. I mean, it still is wild, right? It's still no rules. You could do whatever basically, and you don't know if you're going to make it or crash and burn.
I had like my first story back then on this old computer when the floppy disks were still floppy. Like
Oh
my
my
computer
God,
was
those are the worst.
that I used to write all the time on it. I had a story about a little this girl at high school that she came up missing, and you know, I don't know. It was interesting, but I lost that a long time ago.
Right? I mean, floppy disks were the worst for fiction. I've lost so many floppy disks, and then they went from floppy disks to those hard drive disks. Those were horrible too.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
weren't much.
Hemingway lost like a trunk of fiction at one time. Thousands or hundreds or however many stories were in that trunk. He lost it, couldn't find it. And then decades later, it turns up somehow. He found his trunk with all the stories in it from his childhood. That'll never happen for us because that stuff is gone. We wrote it into a computer, and those files are destroyed over the last decades or so.
Yeah, it's gone. I was pretty sad about it, but I was kind of devastated.
Are you one of those writers that can go back into an old piece and work on it and develop it from
Yeah,
years away?
I mean, it depends. Like I said, I started this. I have this story from my early 20s that I started, and I just think it was terrible.
Most stories are that you write. First drafts are terrible, right? I mean, they're never going to be great until you work it, work it, work it, work it, work it.
Right. I think that it may have potential, but I don't write from that. It was like I mean the best way I could describe it is it was like a hood story, like a story from the hood, but honestly, I've never lived in the hood. Like I've always been like middle class. Like the poorest I've been is how poor I am now. Like I didn't grow up.
How sad, right? You're not even doing better than your parents, and you work your ass off. That's our entire. Well, that's the entire our generation, millennials, and the one above us. I mean, just pain.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. It's pretty sad. That's true though. And that I like for people to keep that in mind when you're looking at your parents and that like we live in a totally different economy. Like it is not the same. Like they literally made more money than us in the 90s.
Yeah, and the economy, and you had to spend less money to live too.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
$50 to eat pizza. You know what I mean? You order pizza for your family. It's like $50, $60. It's expensive to live. Like $10 used to buy you so much when I was a kid.
Yeah,
And they
that's
made
true.
more money. My mom, whatever. She was a librarian. She made, what librarians make, and that's decent money for that time. And now it's like I can't even imagine living on that money now.
Yeah, no, no, not at
It's
all.
horrible.
My mom has a master's degree, and she, she made pretty good money. When we were growing up, and my dad worked, and when my mom and dad split, we still lived a good life. Like my
Wasn't bad,
mom,
right? I can imagine doing it now. If me and my wife split, man, my kids would suffer. Bad.
yeah, well, you need healthy relationships to show your kids so they know.
No, yeah, it's really true. I mean, everything that we know that our parents didn't know. It's very interesting. Shae, this has been amazing. I've really enjoyed this conversation. We're reaching the hour mark, so I'm not going to keep you much longer, but well, actually, I think we've exceeded the hour mark by about 10 minutes or so. And no, about right there. So, I mean, I like to finish up every podcast with just a couple questions. The first one being, what are you reading? What would you recommend people kind of consume media-wise, movies, TV, books, video games? Is there anything that you would recommend that people check out?
Um, I watch a lot of YouTube.
Yeah, me too.
I love YouTube shows, so I watch a lot of gay stuff on YouTube. Right
Okay.
now, my favorite shows is called Gayborhood Dallas. It's a
Gabriel,
gay,
I can't even say it. Neighborhood,
gay,
I can't even say it. Gabrielhood? No, I'm saying it wrong. I'll just let you talk.
Yes, it's actually a really good show, like pretty entertaining, a little far fetched, but like I said, it's pretty entertaining, and like there's like so many like web series, and I just honestly I've always enjoyed the little guys' work. I love like B movies when I was
Yeah,
younger. And now it's like you can watch them on YouTube. Like people put their blood, sweat, and tears into that,
yeah.
and however it comes out, I really appreciate it. But that one is really good, and it's funny, and it's a lot of drama. So
And
that's one
it's
of my
called Gay Boarhood. Gay Boarhood, right?
yeah, get to Dallas.
Neighborhood Dallas. Oh man, I love it. Yeah, you're right. YouTube has so much quality content on it. I just happened upon this couple, these Australians who sail and they upload videos when they stop at a new town and just addicted to it. I can't stop watching it. and it's just, it's just them on a boat being Australian, and I watch it religiously, called Vagabond. I just love it. So yeah, man, YouTube's got a lot of great content. Any authors that you'd recommend people check out working in your genre, or anything that you've read interesting that's lately you'd recommend?
Actually, I had this. I just read this book. Let me see. Let me find the name of it for you. That was actually really good. I enjoyed it. It was about this guy who was dating a basketball player, and the basketball player was on the download basically, and it's called Basketball Jones by Elin Harris, and I think it's kind of older book, but he writes LGBT.
I mean, there's an element of terror in that type of fiction, isn't there? It's not joy, is it? When you write that genre, you're kind of writing it from a position of, oh my God, right? What if they discover me? Or is it in these worlds that nobody gives a shit and it's just a romance?
Like I said, I like to write realistically. That book seemed pretty realistic. He was in the closet. I don't. Sometimes it is. Oh my God, it's like real life.
I mean,
Sometimes you
a
run into.
down low. I mean, a down low basketball player is a dude that's gay but doesn't want to show it to the real world, right? So he dates dudes secretly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, that definitely, you don't want the members of your basketball team to find out, and if they do, my God. Or does that add to it? That element of, this is horrible, we can't do this, but oh my God, it feels so good type thing.
Yeah, well, it was told from the point of view of the boyfriend, so the person that wasn't like in the closet. And
I see.
To him, I mean, to me, he dealt with a lot of stuff that I wouldn't deal with, But I understand being a gay man and being a gay woman is different. It's really
very different.
It's a lot harder for them. So a lot more of them, stay in the closet. And also on that end, a lot more of them accept other men that are in the closet. Like women, we don't really care for that. If you're gonna be in a closet, we're probably just not gonna mess with you.
That's so interesting. Like I said, I was in the Army, and I had a lot of friends that were lesbians. They were dating each other out. It felt like they were out completely. I mean, this was back in the 90s when that wasn't allowed. Don't ask, don't tell was the big thing. But they were out completely. Like, they were dating, not kissing and holding hands and stuff, but you knew that they were together. But I didn't know any gay dudes. None.
Exactly.
Not one gay guy. In the Army, I didn't know none. I mean, how odd is that, right? But I could count like 5 lesbians, but no gay dudes.
They were definitely there.
They were there, right? At least 10% of the soldiers in my unit had to have been gay, according to a statistic.
Yeah, it's like 1 in 4 or something like that. So
crazy high number. I mean, and then also, sexuality is fluid, right? It's not necessarily I'm gay, I'm straight. There's like this whole gray area that you could be.
I mean, honestly, I feel that we all fall in that spectrum. Nobody's completely gay and nobody's completely straight. We all have our limits.